next person that we're going to honor, this, I had our list of like the things, like they were Charlie students and they were Cuesta students, and they're awesome, I said. And then there's one more thing that they all have in common, is that they're all students also of Darrell Voss. Nice. So Darrell Voss is he's the guy you want to make music with. He's the guy you want to have playing music with you, because he's just so talented and so polished and so generous. Is the way I think of him. Is just that he's always making you sound better, because of the way he plays, which is so cool. So, and now we get to hear him play vibraphone. Yeah, we've been hearing him play drums all night.
Ooh. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all being here. This is a very special night, not only for Charlie. Is there Charlie Shoemake here yet? We haven't seen him yet. Well, anyway, I'm going to bring this up a little bit. It's been a real treasure actually an honor for me to play alongside these guys. First of all, comrades from Quest College, local musicians. But when I look back 30 years ago, I first met Charlie, and when he moved to town back in 1990, I was very young. And I didn't know much about jazz, but I was willing to be open to it, and it ended up being a wonderful thing for me, because 30 years of playing for myself, I've been become a jazz musician, and it takes a long time. And Charlie and I have, he was originally moving from LA at 51 years old, talking about retirement, and but then soon he realized, wow, we could have some really great concerts. And there's a place called the Hamlet up here, that beautiful venue. Yeah, remember the Hamlet? So that ended up being a thing, and I remember going up to the first concert, and I was just blown away by these musicians that were playing. And Charlie would bring up, everybody that was in LA, but also New York and San Francisco and Chicago, and world-class musicians, no doubt. And so I really learned by watching for a long time, and during that time I also was able to meet some teachers that Charlie helped me out with, one being Jeff Hamilton, and I got to study with him for many years. And so, it evolved into a passion of listening, understanding how to play, many hundreds and thousands of hours of study. Charlie and I talked about that recently. How many hours do you think you've ever studied? Well, he used to practice 10 hours a day, and much like Charlie Parker did in the early days. And you can imagine after 60 years of practicing how that adds up. So anyway, I'm grateful to be here. When I look at Charlie and I think about the inspiration that I capture from him and Sandy, you look at Vladimir Horowitz, who was doing concerts until he was 83 years old. Dionne Warwick's still doing it at 80. Tony Bennett at 94. I mean, there's some really great musicians that are still doing it. I actually played a gig with Mundell Lowe, who was guitar player with Charlie and Frank Sinatra and Merv Griffin, and he was 91. I mean, he wasn't bad either. He was great. So, it really makes me feel like, wow, this is a lifelong journey, and it's true. I'm so grateful to be able to do it. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents. I first started taking lessons with Charlie back in about 1999, 2000. On vibraphone, and he was teaching me some voicings and the jazz standards, that how he approaches them, but mostly the theory and the intricacies of transcriptions and being able to recite 251 from Tommy Flanagan or somebody like that, or Sonny Rollins, or there's so many great solos, hundreds or thousands of solos that Charlie's transcribed. So you have to understand, he made a living, and he was the guy in LA for 30 or 40 years. He came up here and it didn't stop, so that's the wonderful thing. All right, so I'm going to continue on, and then after that, I'll do one more thing. I ended up taking piano lessons from him just to understand, Charlie, I really want to kind of understand, this part too, because I actually had to take piano lessons as a kid for 2 years before I could take drum lessons. And then, that's the way it was in my house. So thanks, Mom. We ended up being real comfortable with lessons. And so anyway, Charlie took me on for about a year. I learned piano transcriptions and how to voice things. And to this day, I still work on that stuff. In fact, I have enough stuff for the rest of my life, actually. I'm going to continue on. That was a song from my father, Horace Silver, great composer and pianist. I'm going to continue on with Willie Needham by Thelonious Monk. So thank you for being here. Hope you enjoy the show.
Voss, everybody. Voss. Yeah. So you've heard from Charlie's students, and he has so many students. There's no way, like, Ted Nash, Andy Martin, all these guys. There's all these like famous musicians that it would have been awesome to get out here tonight. Saw Talia out there tonight. He's a student of his. Charlie, obviously Charlie loves music, right? Charlie loves bebop. If you want to get really specific, Charlie loves bebop. Actually, and he loved baseball. He was very good at baseball. I don't know if you knew that about him. He could have probably been a major league player, I'm guessing. But at some point, he decided to get what he wanted to get out of music. He was going to have to give that up, and he did. And he went the route of music making. And Charlie didn't love country music and playing behind pop musicians. So he kind of kept staying on the bebop thing, and that was partly what made him go to the vibraphone. But I'm glad that that's the way it worked out. It's good for us. So also, Charlie loves Sandy Shoemake, and he shared with me actually that picture. If you saw in the thing, there was a picture of this young couple on their wedding day. I think it was on their wedding day, and that was that was them, and that was published in a magazine article by Jazz's, and it was talking about all of these musical couples that are both people are musicians and they're together. And Charlie just told me like there's maybe 15 something couples featured in the magazine. They're the only couple that's still together. It's hard when you're musicians, especially if you're both musicians. That makes it even harder. But Charlie and Sandy pulled it off. But another thing that Charlie loves, I think, I can say this as a teacher, I think Charlie loves his students, and he's had a million of them, and he's really had a huge impact on a lot of people's musical lives, and that's kind of what prompted me to organize this show tonight, because we've had so many students in common. I just thought that'd be super cool to get all these vibraphones on the stage, right? So anyway, at long last, we are going to bring Charlie Shoemake out to the stage.
Where's the nearest bar? you so much. Wow. This summer, it will mark 67 years ago that I left Houston and came to California. It was 1956, and I knew then that if I wanted to do anything in this, make a name for myself in any kind of way, I had to go to either New York or Los Angeles. Houston wasn't going to do it, that's for sure. So I chose Los Angeles, and some years ago there was a book published about the great jazz vibraphone players, and I was asked by the interviewer if I regretted not going to New York instead of California because the publicity was bigger in New York and more media centered, and I said no, I don't think so. There's a book, another book that's been written, it's called The Encyclopedia of Jazz, and there's a paragraph in there about me, and there's a paragraph in there about Sandy. I think if we'd gone to New York, there'd be 2 paragraphs. California has been great for me to be here, starting in '56 and then in '59 meeting Sandy, and then Hollywood studio work, and then 7 years with one of the biggest name jazz groups in history, George Shearing, and then teaching and having all these wonderful people study with me. I'm so grateful that happened, and then leaving LA and coming to Cambria and starting the Hamlet, which lasted for 20 years, about 500 concerts. And the last 10 years or so, we've been doing it all over the place, but now a little place called the Harmony Cafe, which is fun, very small, of course, nothing like the Hamlet. But, oh, by the way, there's going to be a concert in June where we're doing the music of Louis Armstrong, and the band will be myself, Darrell, Voss, Dylan Johnson, and George Stone. George is a master musician. Obviously, you've heard him play the piano so beautifully today, but he's a world-class arranger and also a hell of a trumpet player, and really big talent. So I want to express my gratitude a couple of places. One, to Ron, McCarley, and Cuesta for doing this for me. It's so sweet, and I really appreciate it. I won't forget it. And also, for all of you for showing up and being here. I really appreciate that, too. It's really great. Thank you. Driving, that was the old cliche. A funny thing happened to me on my way to the concert today. So I'm driving along, and I saw this lady on the side of the road, and she needed a ride. So I picked her up, and turned out she was a singer. And so I said, well, maybe I'm going to be doing this concert tonight. Maybe you'd like to sing. She said, yeah, I could do that. So we'll audition her now and see how she is. Sandy Shoemake, here she is.
The very thought of you, and I forget to do the little ordinary things that everyone ought to do. I'm living in a kind of daydream. I'm happy as a king and foolish though it may seem to be, that's everything. The mere idea of you, the longing here for you. You'll never know how slow the moments go till I'm near to you. I see your face in every flower, your eyes and stars above. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love. The mere idea of you, the longing here for you. You'll never know how slow the moments go till I'm near to you. I see your face in every flower, your eyes and stars above. It's just the thought of you, the very thought of you, my love. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here for Charlie.
You're hired. We have a grand finale here with all the young vibraphone players. Everybody's young to Sandy and me, so anyway, we're going to do that. But before we do, last bit of commercial business. There's some. Sandy and I haven't made a record in over 20 years. We've made a bunch of them, a ton of them in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and all 90s, and all that. All the like most things, times changed. All the record companies have dissolved, and all of our records are out of print. So we printed up a few ourselves. So they're out there in the lobby if you care to pick one up. It'd be fun. And also, I wanted to let you know about all the guys today have been very kind about remarking about our Central Coast Jazz Institute. That's something we started 10 years ago in conjunction with Cuesta. And it's a scholarship situation where people make tax-free deductible donations to the Institute for people to study with me for free. and it's worked out really great. Not only these talented people that you've heard tonight, but so many others that I've been able to help, and it's something that's very important to us, and I hope important to you. We can use the donations, and we hope that you can find your way to get into that. And of course, let me tell you about the jazz series that we still have going up at the Harmony Cafe. And once every 3 months, we do a special concert at Painted Sky Recording Studio. It has a beautiful 9-foot Kawai grand piano. And we've been bringing major piano artists from all over the world to play there. So I hope you find out about that and join us. And once again, thanks to Ron McCarley, and thanks to all of you for making this possible for Sandy. We will never forget it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sandy, thank you. That was magical. That was, okay, we're going to have a little fun here. Nothing too serious. But when's the last time you saw this happen, huh? Yeah. Well, I get the chance to. I'm near a microphone. I want to thank Clark Stewart and everybody for making this happen here on the stage. Yeah, it's awesome. And thank you all for coming. Seriously, that we can't do this unless you all come and be a part of it. And we're super happy to share all this with you. Thank you to all our students here too. Thank you. Thanks again to Charlie for.
But wait, who's gonna play drums?
thing I'd like to say is I'd just like to thank you all for witnessing my drum debut. And Dylan actually would like to say something too, because he was also a student at Charlie's.
Hi everybody. Actually, I was not a student of Charlie's, but I was, and so I'll explain to you what I mean by that. I was not officially a student of Charlie's, but when I was a student here in the early '90s, it was shortly after Charlie started the series at the Hamlet, and I religiously would go up there and watch as many shows as I could afford to go to, which was a lot because they had a student discount at the time, so I could make it to a lot of them. But I would sit right in front of the drum set, the spot where nobody wanted to sit, because it was loud right there, you know, which was perfect for me because I had the straight shot to look at the bass player in the rhythm section. And it became apparent very quickly to me that that what was going on there was the real deal, you know, like he was really having, as far as rhythm section, what I did, the best players in the world there, and it became very obvious to me quickly that I had a lot to learn just by watching and listening. And then a little bit after that, I got some chances to play in that rhythm section, and that was huge for me, and I was scared to death, honestly. And during that time, these guests that would come would play, they'd play standards, but there was not a lot of talking and there was no music. So Charlie would turn around to me and say, T for 2. And, and it would be blisteringly fast, and I'd be thinking, I don't know T for 2. But I realized that this was the tradition of playing this music, is opening your ears and being able to hear what's going on without having the music in front of you, and knowing this repertoire. That's the classic repertoire of this music. And so Charlie would do things like, if I didn't know a tune, he'd say, watch this. And he'd play an intro where he'd play part of the tune, show me his changes on it. And he'd always have some really hip changes, kind of look at me like, catch this, and play some of his special changes that I would just pick up on the spot. So although I wasn't officially a student of Charlie's, over the years I've been blessed to be able to back him up at the Hamlet first and then onward at the other venues. And I really have learned more just from listening to and watching him and the other musicians than I could say I learned anywhere else. So it was really a school for me just to be able to play music with him and to learn by just being there and trying to swim, you know, trying to keep from sinking. And that was really invaluable. It's really something that I think I wouldn't have really found easily somewhere else at that time. So I'm very thankful for that, and I still learn every time we do a gig backing him up. Darrell and I have been doing those concerts for quite a while now. And so thanks again, Charlie, for all those lessons from just watching your left hand.
Well, thank you again, everybody. This has been such a treat. We're going to play one last tune for you all to send you off. It's called Lester Leaps In.